Hi guys, welcome to ExamDebug. This is Chris McKenna, and today we're going to be working on a game of rock, paper, scissors. Now, ideally you should have done this yourself, or you should have at least tried it yourself. It doesn't matter if you managed to actually do it or not, but hopefully you gave it a go. And hopefully you got it working as well, because that would be awesome. But if not, don't worry, it's good you tried. If you haven't given it a try, please give it a go now before you watch the video. Like anything, practicing problem solving, practicing dealing with these things, you will learn so much more than you will with just watching videos. That said, let's get started. So we can say with this that with any program you should be planning and preparing stuff beforehand. So if you're in my computing class, then that should be with your probably pseudocode, which is like sort of semi-English writing out by code, or flowcharts or other stuff. And again, this stuff is good to practice, especially when the programs are easy, because once it gets harder, you're going to want to have all your skills and your way of doing it fleshed out, so that that's all secondary to you. So practice it now while it's easy. It might seem overly simplistic, but give it a go. Alright, anyway, let's get started today. Sorry, that's why we're here. So the first thing we want to do is maybe give the user a short introduction. So let's put print in here. Welcome to rock, paper, scissors. Okay, and then we want to, I'm just going to put in a bit of space just to make it look nice and tidy. And then we want to get the user's response. So we're going to say user equals input, so that's to get the user's response. Do you choose rock, paper, or scissors? Now, you could explain in here more of the rules and stuff beforehand. I'm just kind of assuming they know how to play the game. But they might not, so, explain, pick, but anyway, go for it. Now, one thing I'm going to do here, and I can't remember if I covered it before, is I'm going to use dot lower. I know I did this in class, but I don't know if I did it on the videos. So dot lower basically means take the text that's entered here, or take any text, and change it to lowercase before we assign it to the variable. So it's going to say whatever they enter here, change it to lowercase, and then assign it to the variable. So for example, if I then print user, and say I put rock in capital letters, it's going to change it to lowercase. And that's really, really helpful, because you've got to remember Python is case sensitive, and otherwise it's going to cause us lots and lots of problems. Okay. So now there's loads of different ways that we could do this, but this is just one way, and there's different ways. So what I want to start with, though, is a while loop. Now, the while loop, the job of it's going to be to make sure that they've only entered one of these three options. If they enter anything else, then kablam, game over. Or not game over, but it's going to keep asking them again until they put in the right answer. Now, my first instinct here is to say while not equal to and not equal to, and that will work fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my life a little bit easier and make my program a bit more readable by making an options list. I'm going to say options equals, and steal that there because I'm lazy. So we can have rock, paper, and scissors. So we're going to have a list that just has our options, and then, like I said, if you wanted to add on extra options later to make a more complex game, then all you have to do is add to that list. So what we can do is while user oops, sorry, let's first of all set up a blank user, just so that it works first time. While user not in options. So that's going to repeat as long as user is not one of these three things. So take user, user is empty the first time. Is user rock? No. Is user paper? No. Is user scissors? No. Well then, do this. And what we want it to do is ask that question. And again, it's going to repeat until they put in something that is inside of our list up here. Like I said, you could have done while not rock, while not equal to paper, while not equal to scissors. That's perfectly fine, but it's maybe more work long term. So now if I put in, I don't know, random things, it's going to keep on repeating until, hopefully, I type, even if it's capital, rock. Yeah, and that's, again, really important to test your programs as you go along, because, I mean, one of the things that comes back to bite people is that they don't. And then it's harder to debug your program later on when you're sort of spending time chasing things, trying to find out where the problem is. That's where you start to hit these issues. Anywho, okay, great, so that works. So again, test the chunks of your program as you go along. Okay, so now we want to get the value that the computer decides. So again, this is where my options list starts to come in useful. So what I have to do first is, like in the last class, we were using the random module. So I have to start by importing random. And now what I want to do is, we'll say comp for the computer choice equals random dot choice and options. Okay, and so maybe we can then put an output here. It's a bit nicer, just to let the user know. We can say print the user chose, the user choice is, oops, plus user, and then below that you can say the computer choice is comp. Now let's see if that works. Okay, let's say we choose rock. The user choice is rock, the computer choice is scissors. Okay, and so we can see that that's working there. All right. Good, so that's kind of like the newest part, and then after that we're kind of into a more easy situation. So all we're going to be doing at this point is our if statements. So let's say if we can do it other way around, but let's say if user equals rock, then we have to do a check. So the user equals rock. Let's say if computer, again this is inside this other if, so this is only going to happen if this is true. If computer equals rock, we're going to, oops, where's my send, where's my colon? We're going to print draw. Okay, elif comp equals, again remember double equals for comparisons. If sorry, that's just my cleaner wandering behind me because I'm lazy and can't clean up after myself. So rock, and then we have paper. Okay, this is where I start to get confused. Okay, so paper beats rock. So we will say print. Oh, I'm typing print in there. We're going to say that the player loses. And then we could do an elif, but really we're only left with one option because we've limited our options up here. So computational wise, we know that it's going to be scissors from the paper. Print player wins. Okay, let's change this one to computer wins. Let's be positive. Okay, so that's for the rock. And then on the next level, we're going to have exactly the same thing, but we're going to have for the other thingy. So again, this might get confused, but and we don't want an if, we want it to be an elif. An if would work, but that's wasting computational time because that means if we do this one, then it would still check this one, even though we know that it's rock. So that's just wasting time. Anyway, so if the user equals rock, let's say if the user equals paper. Okay, so this time the user is paper, and they've chosen paper, so it's a draw. If the computer equals scissors, then the computer wins, else the player wins. Okay, I think that's right. Again, I reserve the right to have messed that up entirely, and I'll come back and fix it later. And the final one, we just need an else. Again, not a big deal now, but computational time-wise, it's one less little check it has to do. It all starts to add up further down the line. Oops. Add in some spaces so that it's not sitting at the bottom of the screen. Okay, else. So rock, paper, scissors. So if it's scissors, it's going to be a draw. And if it's so rock, the computer wins. Oops, what did I do with my else? That was silly. Put it in after that. There we go. Otherwise, player wins. Okay, so I really want to double check that, but I think that's right. Let's see on the side. What I'm going to start this in a new window, just so it's easier to see. Okay, so do you choose rock, paper, scissors? Let's say they choose rock. Okay, the user choice is rock, the computer choice is scissors, so the player wins. Yay, that's right. Let's try again. Let's try scissors. The user choice is scissors, the computer choice is rock, the computer wins. Cool. So this is an example of a very simple version of it. Ideally what we want to do, I guess, would be to put this whole part inside of a while loop itself so that we don't have to keep rerunning the program. And we could also maybe think about keeping some kind of score. But for now, I think that does and practices the main parts that we've done so far. Anyway, if you get any questions or if I've made any silly mistakes, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you.